Rabin told it twice. Yitzhak Rabin commanded at Lydda. In 1977, in an interview with Michael Bar Zohar, he recalled Ben-Gurion saying, "Expel them." In his 1979 memoir manuscript, a passage cut by the Israeli military censor, then revealed by the New York Times, Ben-Gurion did not speak at all. He made a hand gesture meaning, "Drive them out." One version, a verbal order. The other, a gesture. If the participant does not tell the same story twice, what should we expect of historians reading those papers 40 years later? Welcome to Power to Lie. In today's History Behind the Lie, we are going back in time to understand why even historians can't agree. In January of 2004, the historian who had done more than anyone to document Palestinian expulsions told a journalist he wished Ben-Gurion had expelled more people. Benny Morris, the same man, the same archive. His research is cited today by both sides of one of the most contested historical arguments in the world, as evidence for opposite conclusions. This episode is about how that is possible. In late June of 2026, a museum in Winnipeg opened an exhibit called Palestine Uprooted, Nakba Past and Present, the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. In the days before it opened, the museum's only Jewish trustee resigned in protest. The Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs objected formally. The museum defended the exhibit and kept the doors open. One exhibit, one city, and it became a national argument. This is the environment the events of 1948 now live in, known in Arabic as the Nakba, the catastrophe, not confined to academic journals. Present in international courtrooms, on TikTok, inside every argument about what is happening in Gaza right now. Anyone searching for the truth about 1948 finds two incompatible truths. Both have bibliographies. Both cite primary sources. This episode does not choose between them. It explains why the choice remains open 77 years later, even with the archives open. By the end, you will know exactly why the same documents produce different histories. Before the war about meaning, the ground it is fought on, and it is larger than either side tends to admit. First, between late 1947 and 1949, roughly 700,000 to 750,000 Palestinian Arabs left or were expelled from the areas that became Israel, most of the Arab population of that territory. Second, hundreds of villages were depopulated, and most were destroyed or repopulated. Morris counted 369. Walid Khalidi, who died on the 8th of March 2026, counted 418. Others counted up to 472. That spread is not a disagreement about facts, it is a disagreement about definition. Third, Israel decided during the war not to permit return. Cabinet consensus in mid-June of 1948, formalized in July. Morris calls it one of the most important decisions taken by the new state in its first formative months. Whatever made any individual leave, it was that decision that made the exile permanent. And it is the point where the expulsion versus flight binary partly dissolves. UN Resolution 194, passed the 11th of December 1948, asked that refugees wishing to return should be permitted to do so at the earliest practicable date. The Arab states voted against, for reasons unrelated to that paragraph. Fourth, massacres of Arab civilians by Jewish forces occurred. Massacres of Jewish civilians by Arab forces also occurred. The killings at the Etzion block in May of 1948 are the documented case on that side. Morris records both. That the record holds atrocities in both directions is not contested. Fifth, no single national written order of total expulsion has been found. That is a statement about the documentary record, and it is only half the picture. That is the floor. The war starts over what it means. The traditional Israeli version rested on a single, coherent explanation. The Arabs left voluntarily. They left because their own leaders told them. The departure was their leaders' choice, and the suffering that followed was their leaders' responsibility. Abba Eban, at the United Nations in 1957, the responsibility of the Arab government is threefold. Theirs is the initiative for its creation. Theirs is the onus for its endurance. Above all, theirs is the capacity for its solution. A named official. A dated statement. A coherent logic. If they left on orders, the refugee problem belongs to those who gave the orders. The traditional Palestinian version rested on an equally coherent explanation. The departure was not voluntary, and it was not spontaneous. It was planned. A premeditated Zionist master plan had the removal of the Arab population as its purpose. Walid Khalidi published an essay in the Middle East Forum in November of 1961, whose title stated the reading outright. Plan Dalet, the Zionist master plan for the conquest of Palestine. Plan Dalet was a real military document, dated the 10th of March 1948. Khalidi argued its directives revealed the intent unmistakably. A named scholar, a dated essay, a named document, a coherent logic. If a plan existed and preceded the departures, the refugee problem belongs to those who drafted it. Neither version was verifiable when it was born. And that is exactly why both could be born absolute. For 30 years, no one outside the governments involved could test either claim against primary documents. Israel adopted the British 30-year rule for declassification. The 1948 material only began to open at the end of the 1970s and into the 1980s. On the Arab side, there was never an equivalent opening. Palestinian history from 1948 rested above all on oral testimony. The Israeli and Western academic establishment of the period treated oral testimony as a lesser category of evidence than state documents, a methodological judgment that is itself now part of the dispute. Both narratives lived for 3 decades with no documentary referee. That vacuum is where inherited certainty grows. Then, at the end of the 1970s, the Israeli vaults began to open. What came out discomfited everyone. No side escaped unscathed. The term is Morris's own, coined in a 1988 article in Tikkun Time. The core names are Benny Morris, Avi Schlein, and Ilan Papp, though even the membership list varies with who compiles it. What they shared was access to the newly declassified Israeli archives. What they found dismantled pieces of both inherited narratives. Against the Israeli version first. The Arab radio evacuation orders do not appear in the records. Erskine Childers, in The Spectator on the 12th of May, 1961, examined the BBC monitoring records covering all Middle East radio broadcasts in 1948. His conclusion, verbatim, there was not a single order, or appeal, or suggestion about evacuation from Palestine from any Arab radio station, inside or outside Palestine. In 1948, the same records contained repeated Arab broadcasts urging people to stay. Morris confirmed in the Israeli archives that the flight had multiple causes, dominated by military attack and fear. A documented accelerant was Deir Yassin, the 9th of April 1948. The village was attacked by Irgun and Lehi forces. The figure of 254 dead came from the Irgun commander himself, Mordecai Aranan, and it spread fast. 4 days later, the UN's own daily summary was recording 254 buried. Papp reads that inflation as likely deliberate, meant to sow fear and panic Palestinians into flight. The counts that survive scrutiny are lower, and close together. Morris puts it at about 100 to 100 to 110. The Burzeit study counted 107, Tauber counts 101. But it was a massacre, and the word is not a later verdict. The same UN summary records the Haganah, the mainstream Jewish military force, publicly condemning the Irgun and the Stern Group for massacre, robbery, and looting. The gap between the documented toll and the circulating figure drove flight. Against the traditional Palestinian version, no single master plan appeared in the archive. Morris's closing sentence in the 1988 book, verbatim. The Palestinian refugee problem was born of war, not by design, Jewish or Arab. That is the half usually quoted by the Israeli side. Here is the half almost never quoted, from the same page. In smaller part, it was the deliberate creation of Jewish and Arab military commanders and politicians. Both sentences. Same page. And the finding that discomfits both sides at once. Morris also documented Arab evacuation orders that were real, but local. In specific villages, local commanders or notables did order women and children out. Real orders in particular places. Not the nationwide radio campaign the official version described, and not nothing either. The two absolute versions died in the archive. Partial versions of both survived, but here is the detail most coverage misses. The historian whose archival work most damaged the traditional Israeli narrative later defended what those archives document, and said he regretted it had not gone further. The research first. The 1988 book documented expulsions and massacres, village by village. The 2004 revised edition, written with IDF and Haganah military archives now open, documented more atrocities, more expulsions, more detail, including rapes. The evidence grew. The Israeli right called him an Israel hater. The Burzeit anthropologist Sharif Kanana called his work more dangerous than the previous line of Israeli propaganda. attacked from both directions at once. Now the political opinions. Haaretz, the 8th and 9th of January, 2004. Interview with R.E. Shavit. Morris, verbatim. There are circumstances in history that justify ethnic cleansing. When the choice is between ethnic cleansing and genocide, the annihilation of your people, I prefer ethnic cleansing. And on Ben-Gurion, if he was already engaged in expulsion, maybe he should have done a complete job. If he had carried out a full expulsion, rather than a partial one, he would have stabilized the state of Israel for generations. These are his political opinions. They are not what his research showed. He never disowned the documented facts. The 2004 edition reinforced them. The result. Each side leads with the half that serves it. The Palestinian side leads with the Morris of 1988. The Israeli side leads with the Morris of 2004, and treats the Morris of 1988 as a confession against interest. Neither can use the whole Morris. And the difference between his two halves is not in the documents. It is in the conclusions drawn from them. Documents do not draw conclusions. People do. 3 concrete cases. Same documents. Opposite readings. Case A. Plan Dalet. Dated the 10th of March, 1948. Island Pap, in the ethnic cleansing of Palestine in 2006, argued it spelled it out clearly and unambiguously. The Palestinians had to go. Morris reads the same document as a military plan to secure territory ahead of an announced invasion, one giving brigade commanders operational discretion, including the option to expel hostile populations. But that, Morris argues, was not tantamount to pre-planning of a total population transfer. And here, the circle closes. Pro-Palestinian advocacy quotes Morris's own words. Plan Dalet as a strategic ideological anchor and basis for expulsions by front, district, brigade and battalion commanders, to support the reading Morris himself rejects. One document, and no agreement even about what its leading historians said about it. Case B. Haifa versus Lydda. The same summer, the same army. Haifa, April of 1948. The Jewish mayor, Shabtai Levy, used his position to try to keep the Arab population from leaving the city. The British delegation reported to the UN Palestine Commission that truce negotiations had failed, and that the Arab leadership had decided to evacuate the town. And at the same time, under heavy fighting in the city, Haganah radio was broadcasting at those same residents, telling them to move away from every house and street and to evacuate the women, the children and the old. Both layers are in the record. Lydda and Ramel, 10 to the 14th of July, 1948. A written, signed expulsion order, between 50,000 and 70,000 people expelled within days. The largest single expulsion of the war. Whoever generalizes from Haifa, and whoever generalizes from Lydda, are both citing true facts. Both are getting the whole wrong. Case C. Rabin told it twice. Yitzhak Rabin commanded at Lydda. In 1977, in an interview with Michael Bar Zohar, he recalled Ben-Gurion saying, "Expel them." In his 1979 memoir manuscript, a passage cut by the Israeli military censor, then revealed by the New York Times, Ben-Gurion did not speak at all. He made a hand gesture meaning, drive them out. One version, a verbal order. The other, a gesture. If the participant does not tell the same story twice, what should we expect of historians reading those papers 40 years later? 3 layers explain why disagreement did not end when the documents opened. The first layer. The archive is asymmetric. The 1948 documents are overwhelmingly Israeli, because it was Israel that opened them. There is no equivalent Arab opening. The Israeli historian, Anita Shapira, criticized Morris and Schleim for making only meager use of original Arab sources, with obvious distortions resulting. Palestinian history rests heavily on oral testimony. Morris discounts it as a primary method. Nur Mazalha argues the opposite. That oral history is the method best suited to recovering a past the state archives never recorded. The choice of what counts as evidence is already a choice about whose account is recoverable. The second layer. The archive moves. In July of 2019, Haaretz reporter Hagar Shazaf and the Israeli Akavot Institute found that teams from Malmad, the Security Department of Israel's Ministry of Defense, had removed and resealed 1948 documents already declassified. Among them, the document behind Morris's own 1986 article, withdrawn after he cited it. Akavot found a copy. This is not a story about a people concealing something. The people who exposed it were an Israeli newspaper and an Israeli non-governmental organization, working against a ministerial unit of their own government. And the military censor cleared the story for publication without conditions. The third layer. Even a perfect, complete, symmetrical archive would not be enough. Avi Schlein has put it directly. The debate is not between old and new historians, but within the ranks of the original group of new historians. Some arguments never end. Morris and Papp, same generation, same archives, ended in public rupture. Morris called Papp's work appalling, and an unsettled question has its uses. Malmab acted to control what the record could show. Both political camps can cite a real historian, honestly quoted, in half, for the account of 1948 their claims rest on. The half quotation is a resource. That is why it survives. Same archives, same generation, different histories. The final questions: what would have happened without a war? What weighed more? What does it all morally require? Are not answered by any document in any vault. They are human questions, and humans answer them from somewhere. 77 years on, we know more about 1948 than any generation before us. Village by village, order by order, day by day. And the disagreement has not shrunk. It has moved up a floor. The argument now is less about what happened. It is about what it means. And that argument, the moral one, the political one, the one about obligation and recognition and land, the documents do not close it. They never did. The lesson travels far beyond 1948. When you hear someone cite the historians or the archives as if they spoke with one voice, ask which historian, which document, which page, and what the same page says in the opponent's footnote, because if the same pages can support two histories, what would it actually take to settle it? Or is settled the wrong goal? That's history behind the lie for today. If you want to see current conflicts explained with data and context, check out Conflict Map. And if you want to see political claims fact-checked with evidence, watch True, False or Framed. Both series are live now. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you for watching. See you next time.